Let's turn to Ohio, where 18-year-old Bryanna Barozzini was sentenced to 3 years this morning after pleading guilty in the fatal stabbing of 17-year-old Halia Culbertson. The teenagers reportedly had a long-running feud, and they got into a fight outside of a smoke shop back in March of 2023. Culbertson is said to have slapped Barozzini, and then Culbertson was stabbed in the neck. The defendant claims the stabbing was self-defense. Before handing down the sentence, the judge heard very emotional victim impact statements from friends and family of Halia. Let's take a listen together.
Halia is gone. Well, so is Haley and Kaylin, lost in an abyss of depression and desperation, anger, frustration, and confusion. Haley and Kaylin began serving their sentence on 27 March 2023, as have the rest of Halia's loved ones. We haven't gotten over a year reprieve. We don't get a maximum 3-year sentence. Our sentence is a lifelong heartbreak.
How I would describe the Barozzinis, I'd say I can't trust them as far as I can throw them. I wish this wasn't what I was doing, reading a statement. I'd rather be sitting there every day through court and talking on trial a million times and writing and saying my statement to you. I wish I was reading a speech at her wedding, seeing her raise kids, get her nursing degree she always wanted, or even living and talking to her when we get old in a nursing home. After listening to me and hearing my statement, I hope you understand who Halia was. She was an absolutely beautiful. That soul that she had, always wanted to help. Her heart was so big, she could give it to anyone. I miss her every day. She was my alarm in the morning, my personal therapist when I needed someone to talk to, and my little sister in my eyes. I could tell you about Halia for hours, but I couldn't make you listen that long. I hope that her killer gets the maximum sentence.
I was always making sure she was okay and having a good night. And the last thing I told her was to call me in the morning and stay safe and that I love her so much. She said, "I love you too, sis," and hung up. Little did I know that that would be the very last time I would ever get to hear her voice. A 24-second phone call I never expected to be the last. On March 27th at 12:24 in the morning, my beloved sister was gone. This villain took my sister's life that night, but my sister's life was not the only thing it took. It robbed me of my happiness. It stole my smile. It took the best part of me I will never be able to get back. Because of this, my sister is gone forever, and every time I want to talk to Halia, I have to go sit at a graveyard and talk to her headstone, wishing I could just hear her voice one more time. I wish I could just wake up and run into her room and lay in her bed and hug her and tell her I love her just one more time.
For you to convey the profound and devastating impact with a heavy heart, with grief, and a soul burdened by an imaginable loss of my beloved firstborn daughter, who was taken from us in an intended act of violence. The pain of losing a child is indescribable. It's a constant ache in my heart, a knot in my stomach that never loosens. But despite my overwhelming grief, my role as a wife and a mother demanded that I become a rock for my family. From the moment that we received the devastating news, I found myself thrust into a whirlwind of emotions, shock, and so many new unknown responsibilities. Because in the wake of tragedy, a mother must summon the courage to face practical challenges that no parent should have to confront. Identifying and preparing your child's lifeless body, planning a funeral for our daughter felt so surreal. What will she wear? What casket? Flowers, music, where, headstone, obituary, transportation, accommodations. I'm sure I left a million things out. Trapped in a nightmare. I couldn't wake up. I can't wake up. No way to escape. Yet I had to stay strong.
Still with us, criminal defense attorneys Joe Tamburino, Marie Pereira. I'll tell you both, as the mother of 3 teens, this one really just kind of makes me throw up, because this is the worst thing in the world that can happen to you. You lose a child, and it's really so stupid. They had a fight at a smoke shop, and look, one ends up dead. What are your thoughts, Joe?
It's extremely sad. There's no doubt about it. I can understand why the prosecutor made a deal like this. You know, in many of these deals where there's a fight going on, you don't know really who was the first aggressor. Could they prevail, being the defense at trial on a self-defense case? There's all these factors to consider when you wind up doing some type of a deal. So it's hard to, you know, stand in both sides' shoes, but I understand why a deal was made.
Yeah, I do too. And she was claiming self-defense. She then decided to enter that plea of guilty. Marie, 3 years in prison. That's the agreed sentence that she's getting, or the sentence that she is getting, rather. What are your thoughts on that piece?
I think her lawyers talked to her and said, you know what, don't risk it with the jurors, because while you have a good case of the victim was the aggressor and you were defending yourself, it could go either way. And from the facts I read, from the limited facts that I read, the victim sadly was the aggressor. This defendant stepped away, went outside. The victim allegedly followed her and then slapped her. So then she pulled out a knife. Did she, you know, pull out a knife for a fist fight? Yes, she did. But trust me, I agree with Joe. They assessed this case up and down the DA. And if they gave her an opportunity to take a plea, it's because they saw holes in their case. The whole being the victim was the aggressor, and there could have been a very viable self-defense case. So it's sad what happened. And I'm sad for her mom, but at the end of the day, she could have beat the defendant to death with her hands. We don't know what could have happened. A fall, a hit on concrete. You know what? It is what it is, a tragedy on both sides, but this was a good deal for her, and that's probably why she took the plea.
I agree with you. Tragedy on both sides, but I too agree. Obviously, they looked at the evidence, they made a deal, and I think at the end of the day, this is what we call justice in this fact scenario, no matter how sad the loss of the victim is.